1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. מה זה בדילי עכשיו? מה קורה כאן? אני רואה שהווליום שלי לא משפיע על זה נשמע. Good evening to everyone. We're in the second meeting in the Dreams course. We haven't fully completed everything we wanted in the first session, so I'll make a summary for part of the session we had, and we'll finish the entire. Perhaps we'll take another quarter an hour for questions, and if the questions are short, then we can answer them in the middle, but we won't be able to discuss them for too long. But we'll try. We learned in the previous session that dealing with dreams comes to be able to use another dimension that is within the soul in order to advance as human beings. We are not looking for mysticism or knowing the future unless we need it for our goal, because we said clearly, how does a person dictate what's correct and what's incorrect for life, what's true, what's incorrect? Whatever advances me to the goal is correct and real, and whatever doesn't is not. Same with the dreams. In continuation to the course, we'll see what is the type of dream which is conscious, how can we use a dream for healing and other things. And you'll also experiment with these things. Whoever will follow the guidance will see that he can also remember the dreams more and also act more within the dream. And we'd love to hear experiences of people here in the lesson. And these things do work from experience, I tell you that. So we come to this course not for mysticism, rather in order to be able to use the dream. The dream takes place within the person's conscious, like anything else. Meaning, when we see something within a dream, we don't see it outside, but we see like a visual picture. So today we'll try to understand furthermore what it is that we see and why in this way. And everything we learned in the previous lesson is that the dream happens within our conscious. The conscious is what connects between the matter and the... אז אתה מקשיב? אז תהיה on top of it, שנוכל לשמוע. כן, רק בוא ננסה להיות בשקט, כי כל הרעש הזה נכנס למיקרופון. נחמן, מה קורה? People create and form shapes for the matter, and that's our role to do with the desire. A person wants, for example, to be a person who is secure, confident. So he says, if I'll have money, I'll have security because I'll be able to buy anything. But if we'll convert it to something more spiritual, So, for example, if I'll have the ability to relate mentally to all the changing states that come to me, then I'll not be afraid of anything that changes. I'll not be afraid of any situation. Up to here, more or less, we learned, and we'll see further on. Who dreams and who does not dream? We know that there are people who do not remember their dreams, but we'll provide a technique how to remember. First, we said that remembering the dream depends on how close the moment is to awakeness or wakefulness. Whoever is asleep and does not remember the dream will see later signs that he can take into the dream, and he needs to remember the dream immediately after he remembers it. Once he remembers one object or one part, it will help him to remember. And you don't have to try to remember everything, but you need to write this part or this particle. So you need to remember this detail. This detail, every time you will remember it, that's how it works usually. It's like an engine starts working gradually, it builds up. We need to do two things in order to remember a dream. First, we need to be immediately able to write what it is we dreamt of. So not to say I'll remember, actually write it with a piece of paper and a pen, and then later on, when you go to sleep with that same point. Research shows that everyone dreams. There's no person that doesn't dream. Therefore, the problem is not only that we do not remember. If the soul was excited, sometimes it helps to remember the dream. Sometimes a person wakes up shocked. He doesn't know why. He wakes up anxious. It's not because he slept for a long time or a short time. It really depends on what went on in his dream. And if things that shocked his soul, okay, מה רצתה? זה שקט חזק מדי? Okay, that's fine. מה הוא מדבר? When you dream, you can speak with yourself during the dream. When you speak with yourself during the dream, say to yourself in the dream, take signs from the dream, not the entire dream, but take signs. For example, if you dream that you were driving within a car and it bumped into a tree, remember this tree. It was such and such tree and I remember it. I want to remember it. Take one sign from the dream and remember it. Once you remember one sign, it's an opening for many things. By the way, even in a regular memory, when a person creates some kind of a mark or a sign for him, he remembers more. Therefore, it's better, it's recommended to create some kind of a sign within the dream. I'm not speaking of someone who doesn't even remember the dream, but if you already know that you are dreaming and you will create some kind of a sign and you will remember before you go to sleep that you need to create a sign, and don't think that you don't know what happens when they dream. Many of the dreams are very conscious And gradually, when a person deals with a dream, it's like a language. You learn within yourself, within the dream, to speak with yourself. So create a sign for yourself. Do not remember abstract ideas. Don't remember just the experience, because an experience is something that disappears, because it's a mental interpretation. And when we are awake, we're more connected to the corporeal reality. So we need to remember something corporeal from the dream. What is the sleep for? A sign means that I take some object or two or three from the dream and remember it. Like, for example, if yesterday I was in a party and I wanted to remember my friend Reuven, whom I met. If I'll remember the hat that he wore, through that I'll be able to remember what happened in the party and how I felt, even within 10 years. What do I need to remember? This picture. Notice that when you look at pictures from the past, you see the picture and you remember the entire phenomena, this mental experience that you had there. Same thing with the dream. We need to remember a certain object, and from that object, an object from the dream, yes. Once I remember an object from the event, so later when I'll be awake, I'll only remember this object, but this object will be sort of an entry point into the dream, like an entrance into memory. What is the sleep for? A person says, I worked all day, I paved roads, I lifted rocks, and I need to go to sleep. But we know that even people who sit all day and do nothing, they still are tired, and sometimes even more. The sleep clearly is not given for the rest of the body. Even if a person will sit and do nothing, the body rests. The rest is for, or the sleep is for the rest of the soul. When a person is very busy, so his soul is obviously very troubled, so he feels like he needs a lot of sleep. But the sleep is losing the corporeal consciousness, meaning when a person is awake, so he's awake with his corporeal consciousness. But when he's asleep, all these actions continue. For example, the liver works, the spleen works, the lungs, the brain continues working, and still he's asleep. So if he's asleep, what is that? Is asleep? It's the corporeal consciousness. Everything else continues working. There's another concept called spiritual sleep, when he's not awakened for spiritual things, like people who are cold like ice and are like totally asleep and totally slumber to their mental reality. How many times a person is being told, hey, wake up? What do you mean wake up? You're not attentive. Your brain is somewhere else. And when you're not, what does it mean not alert? I'm not within consciousness or awareness to this specific thing. So corporeal sleep is that when my consciousness is not a corporeal consciousness. My corporeal consciousness is asleep. Was it 6:10? Let me talk. Its role is to charge the person's mental batteries, and the mental phenomena of a person are beyond time and space. Therefore, when we are asleep, we sleep in order to lose the consciousness of time and space, because it disrupts us. How many times do you feel that when you're in motion, when you move a lot, so you cannot be focused on something? Whoever did Tai Chi, he knows it more. And the sharp, acute motions, they actually take us out of this emotional world. So the same thing with sleep. We need to get to some kind of a mental charging, and our soul sort of receives some sort of a battery that needs to be recharged, and thus I need to charge this same mental and mental battery in order so I'll be able to continue living. Because our sages says, because if a person does not sleep more than 3 days, he goes crazy. Why? I tried checking it once, but I fell asleep on the third day, so I couldn't actually test it. But even if someone will succeed, then it doesn't matter if they'll succeed corporeally, because there's an idea that three discernments are like something which is connected. There are many halachot that tell us that if it's like in a sukkah, for example, sukkah, if one of the sides is more than 3, because if it's not connected to the ground, it needs to be connected to the ground, and such in many things. So 3 days is like a spiritual thing, but even the corporeal sign here works, and it's good for a person to sleep mentally, because he is being charged again and again, and he needs this charge. And here we understand that our livelihood, it's not livelihood for 7 years and we'll live it. We're giving some general livelihood, but this livelihood is renewed every night. The time of charging is very quick up there. We don't need to sleep 12 hours in order to be charged. Some people have very slow charge, and sometimes they leave the battery up there. It's not good. I heard that there's some people who sleep 10 hours a day. נו די, הוא מתחיל עכשיו כל 5 שניות, מה קורה? אתה לא מקליט, נכון? The sleep can accumulate a little bit, but not too much. We, with God's help, start on time next meeting, so I recommend everyone to come on time. What is the dream and what is the sleep? So a little bit from the wisdom of Kabbalah. The matter of slumber. These are things that Chaim Vital writes in Parashat Vayeshev in page 91. I think you have it in these quotes on the papers you received. The matter of slumber is that the mochin is the sensation of greatness or a certain experience that a person had, and it disappeared from him, it left him, and he remained asleep. So for example, a person had an experience, but something remained from that experience after it disappeared, and what disappeared, that's what he dreams of. So when a person sleeps, this experience that he had disappears, even though the experience was spiritual. When I drink a glass of water and I feel something, the actual sensation is spiritual, it's mental. It only clothes within corporeal things, within the action of the drinking. Even when I receive a gift and I'm happy, I'm not happy from the actual gift. I'm happy from something internal within me that I feel, because the fact is, if I got a gift from someone and I was very, very happy, and then there was nothing in there when I opened it, I was still happy. Why? Even if someone came and told me you won the lottery $1 million, and then later on it turns out that I didn't win because they got the wrong person. But until then I was still happy, meaning the actual happiness doesn't come from the actual experience, but rather from my perception. And this clothes us within some kind of a story of an incident, but it's not the incident that actually matters. The incident only holds and clothes the experience for me. So we do all kind of actions in the world in order to, and when we go to sleep, the same experience remains, but it's called the experience within the state of katnut, of smallness, because we cannot feel it in greatness. Now we're people, and we're people within physical consciousness, and this is the prevailing consciousness. So I can't hold the same spiritual experience when I don't have the vessel that will, or the instrument that will interpret it for me. Much like I cannot interpret the radio waves that are in the air right now in order to interpret the radio waves that are in the air. And today there are wonderful things. It's amazing that you have a book of 500 pages and you press a button and it's in the computer next to it. How does that happen? Same thing with our physical consciousness. It interprets the spiritual, mental things that happen to us, and only this way we're able to perceive it. But it exists in the air. This air are also more internal consciousness that we have, and we don't have. And when I don't have this interpreting tool, which is this world, which is the incident, so the experience still experiences, but it's called in katnut, in smallness. That means that the discernment of the matter of dream within a person is that when the mochin, the gadlut, leave him in the beginning of the night, only the mochin of katnut remain. What does it mean? I'm not in the, I don't have the tool of time and space, or the instrument of time and space anymore. It's like a memory of something. Only this point is critical when we dream, and if it's not clear, then comes the dream. And what is a dream? It says avayot, the gadlut, that remained within the katnut. He wants to say that these are reshimot, sort of recollections from the experience of the gadlut, that they experienced that in the person's soul, but he sees them in the state of katnut, of smallness, as if they're real. Meaning he sees them in a state where he doesn't have a corporeal consciousness, as if it is a corporeal consciousness. I can also try it now if I close my eyes and I think, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of my wife, what? That we ate supper last night together. I can think it right now. How can I think it? In my imagination. But why can I not hold it? Why do I prefer to eat the actual supper? Because this is the state of gadlut, because it actually captures and holds the experience for me. But there is a mental experience even without that. But this is a state of katnut, smallness. And this is a state that is within our dream. Now, there are, in the dream, a small view or small scene, because in the dream I'm not subject to time and space, so that same experience I can interpret in different ways, and I can also create combinations which are not limited to time and space. For example, I can see a flying elephant, I can see a car crashing into a tree and the tree turns into a frog, or I can see white but I can't see, for example, I just said a word that I don't even know what I said. I don't even know how to repeat it, so I don't even know how to answer you. But why don't I see it? Because I never saw it, so I don't know what it is. But different combinations of things that I've already seen, I can create. Therefore, even if I saw strange combinations, they do have meanings, and everything we do has a meaning. So we need to understand that the dream is some sort of phenomena that we had, and not necessarily from the last day, rather from the last period, or things that really shake us for many years. And it could be also from previous incarnations, that these experiences are within us, and they appear, and every time that I remember they're in the wakefulness, they can appear again because I dreamt them, so they can appear in different ways. So when a dream or something that is similar to this dream repeats itself again and again, we have to see what we do with this dream, and we need to deal with it. Up to here, to understand what the dream is. Does anyone have any questions? This is the time. Amen. A few things. This matter that the corporeal consciousness interprets the experiences or the phenomena, I don't understand that, this manner of definition, because as far as I understand, the experiences clothed within the corporeal consciousness, but it's not interpreting it. Yeah. For example, when I see a white page and I say there is a circle here, I take a pencil and creates a mark on the page, and I say that the matter, it interprets for me the circle that is within the white paper, or on the white paper. Well, the person's perception is always from the lack or from the incomplete to the complete, from the external to the internal. Therefore, specifically, the lack is what actually interprets to me the existence, the essence, Havaya. I understand the Havaya, the essence, through this world. A person gives me a gift, so I understand that this person perhaps loves me, so I interpret. The experience is interpreted for me through the action I see, and I, within my brain, need to interpret this phenomena in order to return and to go back and understand what was the experience. So it's in two forms. One time, I perceive, and when I perceive reality through the corporeality, and now I have to interpret it. If I want to return it to a mental state, I need to understand that there's something mental which is beyond time and space. So, for example, the Torah is being told to me there was Abraham, he begot Yitzchak, and then he begot Yaakov, and so on. So, if they only told me that spiritually, for example, what did I say now? I'll say a name and you'll tell me which one it is. Which name did I say? I said David. Did you see? You didn't know that. Why didn't you know? Did you know? You want to try again? Okay, what am I saying now? No, Shimon. You see, you didn't know. Why? Now I'll say, and let's see if you know. Shimon. What did I say? Shimon. So simple. You see? Why? Because when I said it within a corporeal clothing, he knows what I'm saying. So when I had an intention or to think about Shimon, but when I said it in my mouth, he was able to know. Before that, he didn't know that. He was thinking Moshe. So this is the idea that we see. We observe through the corporeality. There are special people, not everyone, very few, who can also see spiritual entities. I'm not sure to tell you what exactly that means. We have to ask the righteous. Whoever sees spiritual entities, or many things are clear to him, and he knows many things. But we don't deal with that here. What connects between the corporeality and the dream is the experience. What connects between what? Between the corporeal experience and the dream is the actual internal experience, that we first experience it outside in corporeality, and then it creates a new reality within us, And how to interpret it? We'll speak about this in a dream, why we interpret one way or another. Why, for example, I see a pink or a flying elephant or a green elephant. We'll speak about that soon. But the process is indeed different. What we see is from the experiences we had in a wakefulness. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. The prophets who dreamed through a personal experience. Yeah, I'm happy you're directing. This is exactly the next topic, the difference between prophecy and a dream. Yes? Can you pass the microphone, please? Back there. What do we actually need the dream for? That's a good question. The dream allows to arrange within our dream and tell us what happens to us, and we can understand many things through it. Therefore, the dream comes to help us to arrange everything that happened to us. It's like when we speak with ourselves about something that happened, and it gives us a more internal atmosphere, and the dream is good for us. It's like when we speak. If we don't speak good, it can actually remove us, but generally it's designed for us to be able to speak with ourselves a little bit more internally and a little bit more independently. The smallest of the experience, even within a dream, there's some kind of an expression of an external consciousness, meaning we don't see something that is not corporeal. We see things that are corporeal. We see a flying elephant. So is there a difference in the Katnut? Do people see things which are more abstract? What they see is whatever was in greatness, they see it in smallness. Meaning that the small, like he's not committed for the levushei mochin, the clothing of the greatness of the bigger one. He sees it by way of judgment of the small one. Let me see how I can explain that to you in a clear fashion. When I see some sort of an essence of gadlut, I have to see it within my vessels, and later it comes back to the head, la rosh. So now it's like the head is not committed and obliged to the body. When I think in the head, I can think about many things which are imaginary, which I don't have in the body. The purpose of the head is to connect, and the body needs to express whatever is in the head. Therefore, the head, the rosh, is not committed and obliged to whatever happens in this world. Therefore, with the rosh, we connect to the upper world, and so within the thought, it's called dat anelam, the concealed and the revealed knowledge. In part 16 he explains that the revealed dat, the revealed knowledge, is what I understand here, but it's also the concealed dat, whoever can see spiritual degrees, that the dream actually reaches all the way there. But when the dream comes down, it already interprets. But sometimes we'll remember excitements that we'll not understand where they came from. So what's between a dream and a prophecy? We'll speak more about the dream. We're not done yet. But in general, we define what a dream is. So I brought an article from the Zohar here, and I'll read it quickly, and later I'll explain it. Whoever didn't understand, it's okay. And he said, what's the difference between a dream? First, nevuah, prophecy, is in the world of the male, who is Zeranpin, and a dream is in the world of the female, which is Nukba, the Zeranpin. And from this one to that one, 6 degrees descent, because the prophecy is in Netzach and Hod, the Zeranpin, and the dream is in Od and Nukba. And between them there's Yesod, the Zeranpin, and Chagat, which are 6 degrees. To prophecy is on the right and on the left, meaning Netzach and Hod, and the dream is only on the left, meaning in Hod. And the dream extends several degrees below. That is until all the way down to the angel of Gabriel, through whom we receive the enlightening of the dream. But therefore, the dream is in with the entire world, even abroad. But according to a person's degree, he sees, and according. But prophecy does not extend beneath Malchut Atzilut. Rather, it eliminates within its place, meaning in the Nukba, which is the place of Zeranpin, which is the secret of Eretz Yisrael, and the prophets receive from her. These are very, abstract concepts. So let's see what we can understand. There were 7 prophets in Israel, female prophets. There were 7 female prophets in Israel. Whoever wants to see can look in Megillah, Yud Bet, Masechet Megillah. But you're saying what you understood and then conclusions, what's incorrect. Perhaps first see what is that we understand, and then we'll see the conclusion. That could be a better order. Yeah, the Zohar asked about a special thing abroad, and we'll talk about that. The difference, what is the difference between a male and a female? A male, not a man, a male, I said. A male is the side of the Creator. A female is the side of the creation. It is the better part of creation, but is also the part of the Creator in the creation, which is the desire to bestow. And what's the most important thing for the Creator when he saw the creation? The creation. But only what is that connects us to the Creator is the part of the Creator that is within the creation. Again, within the creation. Gal, would you please get me the paper to draw? The Bria, the creation, has the side of the Creator, Abore, and the side of the creation, the Bria. Let me show you. So, if I have something that is comprised of 2, and everything is comprised of 2, there's nothing in the world that doesn't have the 2 sides. Even the female has the male part in her, and even the man has the female part in him. And in each person, it's dominant in one way or another. The entire part of the Nekeva, the female, is the individuality. There is a defected female, and this is a female that wants to disconnect from the entire side of the male, the entire thought of the Creator, the entire thought of the thought, or the abstract, and he wants to act only its privacy, its individuality. And there's a female, which is the significant part of the home, and the male is only a means that comes to connect to the Creator. The combination of both of them is called Adam. He created them, a male and a female, and if there's no combination of both of them, so who is more important? There's no one that's more important. That together is more important. A male cannot be without a female, and a female cannot be without a male. He says in the Tikkunei Zohar that only the togetherness can receive the light. The thought that perhaps Judaism says that perhaps the male or the female are more important, these are incorrect things. The true coupling is called panim bepanim, a coupling of face to face, and two sides need to be important. Whoever went through the course here and knows what I'm talking about. So we have two sides. The side of the male, which connects to the upper, and the female side needs to act whatever was in the upper. When we pass on to the next presentation, please. So when we have some kind of a prophecy, then we need to rise to a much higher degree. It's like the degree of the male within the female, and that's what we are speaking of here. There were prophets in Israel, there were many of them. We only know of 28 prophets because they are the ones who had the prophecies for the generations, but there are many more that we don't know of. But the concept Navi, prophet, is someone who can see spiritual things and also future things that will happen. A dream is more personal, it's more individual, it's more for what happens within the person himself, and it's less of what is going to happen with things that are beyond him. Therefore, a person usually dreams himself. He doesn't dream other things. And in prophecy, we can see other things. The dream has an individual point. It comes from the side of the nekeva, of the female, which is an individuality. Therefore, when we want to interpret the dream, we'll associate it with a spoken person. And many times a person dreams only about the part that's within him, with his parents, with the children, or with the friend, or with a partner. Therefore, everyone needs to check the dream individually. Up to here, it's still related to the previous lesson. Now we turn on to the next presentation, lesson number 2. Yep. You said that the male side is the one that connects to the upper, and the female side needs to act whatever is in the upper. What was in the upper? Whatever was. Everyone has a different upper one. You ask him what is it that the female needs to act, whatever was in the upper one. If there were rubbish in the upper one, then that's what she's going to act. So the nekeva, the female, is the body part. Sometimes the body signals to the thought, I feel pain, do this or do that, and the thought thinks for the body. But the body on its own part is death. It's like stumbling blocks, like a plague. And therefore, when there's only goof, like a plague, the words negev, it's like something dead that cannot work. The mochin, the brain, is what moves the body. So how does the body works? The way the brain works. Sometimes the body works only for the brain, and they're equal. When they're equal, the brain and the head, it's like in a beast when the brain and the body are the same. But the brain needs to lead the person. Even Lev, the heart, is called after the 32 paths of wisdom. Lev in Hebrew is 32 in Gematria. So for our matter, what we need to know is that we examine the dream with our individual point, and since it comes to our individual point, we also have a lot to learn from this individual point. And prophecy is only for people who are more general, and there are people who can actually have prophecies. Don't ask me how to do it. Don't ask me about that, because that's not what we speak of here. In the article you brought from the Zohar, it says that everyone dreams according to his degree. What does that mean? What do you understand from that? That each one has a degree, and there are such people who already corrected part of. Dealing with the dreams, I said in short, because we have 10 things here. Dealing with dreams. Dealing with the dreams helps us to. This is our goal. We need to focus on this. This is the only reason I need the dream for, not mysticism, not to tell the friends. If I want to help people, it's also good. But a person's dreaming happens in his consciousness, not in some kind of world. It happens in his consciousness, and a person's consciousness is what connects the spirit and the matter. So even when I see the corporeal things, and we'll speak more about it today, I also see that within my consciousness. The matter, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, is spiritual, and what we see in corporeality, it's something illusionary. And that's, like I said, we'll speak about it more later. What is dream? Losing the corporeal consciousness relatively. Meaning I'm not awakened to the corporeal consciousness, even though it continues working within me like all the other corporeal actions. The dream which I observe in the conscious is a remaining of corporeal consciousness within the state of a dream. And when I reach a corporeal state, it is given above. The sleep is a necessity in order to dream, and the dream helps a person. He needs to dream. It's like a conversation, a dialogue within him. The dreaming starts from a spiritual world that cannot be observed with instruments. Even when the instruments measure, they measure to a certain level, but before that, they don't know what happens. Therefore, the instruments are not enough. The dreaming that we speak of is only the end of the process that happened spiritually and mentally. The dream is 1 divided by 60 of the prophecy. The solution or the interpretation of the dream. The solution of the dream is more important from the picture within the dream. Why? Meaning that when a person, I'll give it to the solution of the dream. Yes. When I solve the dream, she's not upset with Joe from Africa. She's upset with me. You're upset about me? With me? Oh, you care about me. I can interpret it this way, and I can also interpret it the other ways. You are upset with me. You who do not do anything and shop all day, you're upset with me. We can interpret, and according to the interpretation, even if a person did something very terrible, let's say he robbed a bank. So, for example, I can interpret this that this person is in distress and we need to help him, or I can interpret that this person needs to be killed and removed because he robbed poor people of their money. So the question is, how do I interpret the reality that's in front of me? According to the way I interpret it, this is the way my reality will be. This is how I will relate to life. Therefore, the interpretation of the dream is the same thing like everything else. It's not unique for the dream only. There are many stories in the Zohar, and according to the interpretation, that's how the dream goes. So much so that there were people who were able to interpret the dreams positively, but the interpretation needs to be realistic, meaning it's not like I dreamed of a elephant and that means I'm going to win the lottery. We cannot interpret it this way. It has to be some kind of a rational interpretation, because otherwise it will be, if somebody shoots me in the street and I'll say, oh, he loves me, then this interpretation is probably not going to be right. It needs to be a reasonable interpretation, but always positive. Why positive? Because that's what we aspire to reach. Our goal is to observe life positively, because that's how we build our lives, positively. This lesson we want to deal with the interpretation or the solution of the dream and its place within the wisdom of Kabbalah. Now we'll see a short video. We'll see a short video. We'll see its first part. It's about 4 minutes. And in this video, in this clip, we'll speak about it later. It also has translation for whoever needs that. Does anybody want to ask any question before the clip? This is a great question. We'll speak about it later. Okay. Is the solution goal-oriented? It's a great question, so I'm not going to fake it, because I can say something which is goal-oriented and it will be incorrect. So now if a person, for example, shoots somebody in the street, let's say an Arab, so now we think positive of this Arab, that's how he was born, that's how he was brought up. Let's say he killed a person, so what do you want to say about him? That he's crazy. That he's crazy. And then what do we need to do with him? What do you need to So we're gonna cut his nails and pour salt. What do you think? Is the Arab also a creation, a godly creation? So perhaps I need to think that I need to help him. For example, well, she screams to me, remove from evil. But perhaps she has something good. Remove from evil, but also do good. The question is, do I want to think positively or not? If I'm not willing to think positively about everything, no matter what happens, a person dies, his body was combed with metal combs, isn't it a bad thing? Of course it's a bad thing, but he says, all my life I've waited for this moment. So if you're telling me that an Arab hurt an Israeli or a Jewish, of course I need to remove myself from this bad. But can I also derive something positive from this? Perhaps I need to study more Torah. Perhaps I need to connect him more to our God above. For example, in Purim, we have the Megillah, which comes from the word Gilui, revelation. And this light that was revealed in Purim. Oh, in the video. Okay. What are the Jews? The Jewish part is to reign the world, to show the entire world that the Torah of Israel will expand, and the entire world will know that this Torah, that the Jew is the one who needs to lead the world to peace and stuff. I know, okay.
Another point to be considered here is the sense of distance. For example, the distance between you and this screen is nothing but a feeling of space.
כי זה לא משודר. Digress from evil. Do good. Mom?
Formed in your brain. Also, objects that seem to be very distant in one person's view are actually images clustered at one spot in the brain.
אין? לא היינו אמורים לראות את זה פה קודם? כן, סליחה, נכון, כן. אז רגע, אתה רוצה לפתוח את הלינק אצלך רגע? אתה לא רוצה לפתוח את אצלך?
Well, you it's a being your body. So far, we have been speaking repeated emotions formed in our brain, the latter of which is what we see. However, since we can never we be sure that such a world really exists. Definitely we cannot. Perceptions we live within our minds. That we only consist of a brain.
Okay.
It is indeed very easy for us to be deceived into believing perceptions without any material correlates to be real. This is just what happens in our dreams.
Okay, so we saw the clip, and we see that the entire reality that is observed outside of ourselves exists within ourselves. It's not that nothing exists outside. Something does exist, but we interpret it in a certain manner. When I look at the cup and I say a cup, that doesn't mean that the way I interpret it is what actually exists outside. But what's clear is that what I interpret is only within me. And I can also be incorrect with my interpretation, and I can also interpret things which are totally different. The entire space, the entire sensation of space that is created within ourselves. There's a brain that can create a very large space, and there's a brain that can create a small space. But why do we all experience the same thing? We all look at the tree and we all see a tree. We all look at the ball and we see a ball. That's because we have a part in the brain that interprets the same way. That's how we're programmed, that will interpret the same way. We have parts where we do not interpret the same way. These parts are the more interesting parts in a person's soul, which we need to learn how to interpret. If I push certain buttons, is that what it gives me? But what to do within this program, what to do within my corporeal perception, this is something I can do. Therefore, he says that the entire distance which is observed, that we observe, for example, I see this place which is remote, for example, 6 meters away from me. Whatever I see 6 meters away from me, that's what I perceive within me, within my brain as 6 meters. It exists in a certain part of the brain that when I exercise it, I see it. So when I an illusion or hallucination, I can see something which is remote, but it's actually not. Like, you know, all these optical illusions that when I create a certain pattern or of errors outside or inside, a thing looks closer or more remote. There are many optical mistakes because our brain is used to interpret in certain ways. But we were given a favor by the Creator that He gave us this corporeal consciousness, so we'll be able to interpret through the corporeal patterns what it is that we see. And why did He do that? Because it's the best way for us to be able to perceive reality, because through that we need to live, and that allows us to live in a way by which we'll be able to work on each and everything at a given time. Sometimes small things, big things, this characteristic or that. The reality we perceive through the sense can be perceived also from a superficial source. For example, if I have memories from things that happened to me during the day or over the years, so these experiences, they can turn on some sensations within me, and I can see all kind of things when I close my eyes. The classic experience we speak of is when I walk and I see a lion and I'm afraid, and if I got scared and I see there was only a statue, it wasn't an actual lion, there was no lion. So what was I scared of? Only from the thought that there is a lion. And even if I didn't see anything, I was in some kind of Fata Morgana, some kind of illusion, and there was nothing, and I was scared. And the father says, don't be afraid to sleep in the darkness. But the father says there's nothing, and he says there are monsters in darkness. How many times are we afraid to stand in a high elevated place? For example, you stand on the balcony, you're not going to fall, but how many times people are afraid to jump off an airplane, right off it? What are they afraid of? Only because our brain is conditioned to think this way. So we need to see whether our reality here, is it a dream? When I dream, the night's sleep, I'm sure that the actions are real. I have no doubt. When I dream, in the state of the dream, I am sure that this is real. When I wake up, I'm aware of the fact that I dreamed. And some people are still so shocked from the dream and they cannot let go of it because they think the dream is still on or still active. And they live it. But there's also mentally types of dreams. It happens that sometimes I feel anger or hate, and then I wake up and my confidence changes totally. When I experience life, the experience is real. We do not argue with the the emotion. If I feel that I love, so that's how I feel that moment. When do I see that I was incorrect? When it doesn't connect with other things. Our soul is not particular. It's some kind of an organization or and I need to organize my thoughts so they do not contradict each other, because when they contradict I get confused. So I wake up from a dream and I say, oh wow, a flying elephant, but there's no such a thing. So what was it that I dreamed? I dreamed that my grandma came to me in my dream, and a person dreams I was with my sister, or I was with my mom. Is it good or not? Strange things he can dream. And these dreams, they all have something real. And if his mother already passed away, and he feels that she's here and she tells him where to go and how to be, everything we dream is good. Also, everything that happens to us is good. Only we need to remember that the reality that I feel is real in my eyes. Why? Because I believe. Because I believe that what I see, I believe that there's a cup here, therefore for me there is a cup here. Because I believe this is the reality, even when I dream. Even now I'm in some sort of a dream. It's the same dream. Only the difference is that now we have two realities. A corporeal reality with corporeal consciousness and the other one, but they're both a dream. Because within a dream, even your consciousness here is sort of an interpretation. It's a dream because it's a dream in relation to a reality where you are not awakened to. Your spiritual reality, you're not awakened to it, so it's a dream in relation to it. It's not only relative, it's also opposite. What is the real reality? We don't know, but we are in a certain dream from the real reality. And what is the real reality? I'll tell you what it is. The real reality is that we are all loving each other and happy and in great pleasure, and nobody fights with no one, and nobody speaks without raising their hand, like an ideal. If I see a state of completeness, that's what it says, that in the state of, in the thought of creation, there was a state of completeness, and everything that adds to this, it comes for us to learn how to interpret that everything I see is a complete thing. It's only one part of the puzzle. When a person bends over, he kneels in order to jump. If I only see the fact that he botched, then I see. But if I see the complete thing, then it's good. So we have to see the entire. זהו? איזה קטיעות. For example, I suddenly saw a rosh, a head, and I think that it's cut. But then suddenly the screen was removed and I see a full person, and I'm happy. Why? Because suddenly I saw that the head lays on the shoulders and it's not beheaded. But if I see only the part which is disconnected from the whole, I'm interpreting incorrectly. So if I see my reality now as someone who is not connected to you, meaning I don't care about you, as long as I get what I want, I see myself as an individual, disconnected from the collective. If that's the way I am, then I interpret incorrect. But I also cannot be in a fantasy, because I can't interpret, for example, that now that I'm on a high-rise building, and if I jump and I'll say that I'm a bird, and everything will be fine. Why? Because in order to advance to the complete interpretation of this dream that I'm in, I need to advance gradually. And this gradual advancement allows me to advance to the next interpretation, so I will believe it, because I cannot believe the entire love. And all these big fantasy kumbaya people, they say they love everyone. This is not real. They don't love everyone. Many times I ask people, who loves to bestow? Maybe many people raise their hand. How much are you willing to bestow from your salary to people? You love to bestow the most, so why don't you give 80% of your salary? 70, are you willing? 60, 50? Oh, I know how many houses you have. Are you willing to give one of them to someone? You see that you're not willing, you don't like bestowing. So when we speak about the salary, that's when people start kind of stuttering. But when someone says, I love bestowing to the entire world, no, you don't, because you're not in that place. So many times, in order to reach this state of complete love, we need to have partnership. It's a good excuse not to bestow, but it's also a good practice. So whoever reaches high consciousness sees these things different from other people, everyone within his level. So also our existence here is a sort of a dream, and we need to learn how to interpret it. Because if I saw a dream, or I see a person hurt or injured, or I saw an Arab who is stabbing, God forbid, or God forbid someone who doesn't need to stab, we need to interpret that correctly. And what is correct? Whatever gets me close to my goal is correct. But I should not. No. הוא סגר את השיעור? יש עוד וידאו? Okay. Let's see a short clip now of 2 minutes, more or less, that shows us, it's the continuation of the previous clip that shows us what is a dream on the same idea, and we'll be able to
and not dream reality. Example, he has been behind. In fact, this is not bad. Prince friend. And command a job. real is nothing but a product of our habits and prejudices. This suggests that we may well be awoken from the life on earth, which we think we are living right now, just as we are awoken from a dream.
So what are our conclusions from the clip? The reality, our sensational reality, is a dream from which we need to awaken. So we got out even more confused. Who are we? Who are we actually? Are we a corporeal reality, a spiritual reality, dreaming people? Are we real within the dream or in the corporeal reality? Who are we? You can turn on the light. So we'll see that, which Rabbi Chaim Vital tells us on behalf of Ari HaKadosh, the Holy Ari. It appears in Sha'arei Kedusha, the gates of holiness. Who is the real person of it? Because a person's body is not the actual, because this is called a person's leftovers. You should clothe me with tendons and bones, and it's written more in Shmot, verse 30, on a person's flesh. That's not the person himself. It is found. He speaks more about this in the writings, in Olat HaTamid, in the Tree of Life, in Sha'ar HaKavanot. לא, זה ניתק עוד פעם. איפה קורא איש? חבל שלנו זה כאילו. It is found that a person is the internality, but the body is a matter of one clothing, and the mental part will dress within him. So who is the person? The person is not the body. When we see a person's body, we're sure that this is a person. I also gave an example with what a person identifies or thinks that it's him. Many times a person's car being hit by someone else, and he comes out of the car and says, "Why did he hit me?" Or if someone hurt your child, you feel like you were hurt. And even if a person insulted you, you feel that he hurt you. But who did he actually hurt if he didn't hurt you physically? When we identify ourselves with something specific, then this is us. When I can remove my identifications, I can delve into a deeper place. Sometimes it's good that we have these identifications. For example, if I'm the father of my children, obviously it's not my real self. It's my internal being of being an educator. That's what I need to live. It only clothed in the fact that I'm a father, or that I'm a husband, and a husband has the role of loving his wife. So if that's his role, so whatever will clothe within him as a corporeal husband, it's only a game. It's only the custom, or the costume. But we cannot perceive our role only but through the external dressing. So who is that discernment of the person? The brain part of the soul. That's how I can know what my role in life is. After a person dies, Rabbi Chaim Vital says the clothing will be unclothed from him, and he will be dressed with a pure and spiritual clothing, as it is written in Zechariah chapter 3 verse 4. Remove the dirty clothes and dress what's called the special coat, which is called the dressings of light and not the dressings of skin. It is found that a person is but the brain part of the soul. When we see signs, we need to know that the person you see in front of you is a sign. Your child is a sign, and you, what you see in the mirror, that's a sign. That's not who you are. This strong identification with things is what causes us not to live the internal point. So when we see these identifications, are they good or not? Some of them are good, and some of these identifications are not good, because some of them are identifications we created for ourselves from all sort of psychosomatic illnesses, and by gradually developing it, we feel that we cannot stop it, and my insecurity in social states or my overeating and so on. There are many things that we cannot, that in our heads we created for ourselves some kind of an image, and we live it, and if I believe that this is me, it doesn't help me that I'm being told it's not you. It doesn't help that we tell the child, don't be afraid, don't be shy. So there are signs which are clear, and there are signs which are not clear. For example, when you see a dove in your dream, it's a sign of a woman. Almost always. We'll always have to combine things. When we see a crow or a raven, you see all kind of bad things, and so on. And an egg resembles a dead person, much like the egg doesn't have a mouth. So does the dead person has no mouth. You have that on the sheet of paper. Other interesting things, for example, a river or a pot. For example, the pot connects between fire and water. I dreamed of a bird that speaks, and I understood what it said in the dream, but when I woke up I didn't remember. What do you need to do based on what we taught? Either to write what you saw or to attach it to something, and there are more chances to remember it. So now I look at it, I see this is a sign of peace. So now you have to see, where do you have controversies where you need to bring peace to. So if the bird was speaking in the dream, that means that the controversy, it's some sort of a verbal controversy. Either you told somebody something or somebody told you. What sort of a verbal controversy did you have? Quarrel? Zanitak. רגע, אני לא שומע. Conflict, dispute, strife. זהו, מה קרה? זה ניתק? נחמן, כן, שמע, היום זה היה... We need to learn how to speak so we can solve a conflict, how to manage a conflict, and after you solve it, you live the solution. If the other person did not solve it, you solved the dream, you quit being quarreled with the other side. He can continue having a strife with you, but it works great. Not on him, on you. And it will be a great thing. So thank you very much for sharing. If he dreamed that he's eating the meat of an ox, is there a difference between a dream within the daylight or at night? Usually the dream at night is more important because it's deeper, and it's the deeper it is, it's more meaningful. The closer the dream is to the wakefulness, or even if it's within a partial wakefulness, it's less real because we're involving more of our consciousness. It's like when we do intuitive things and we want to bypass the brain. So when we bypass the brain, in which we have a lot of social conditioning, so we touch things. We unfortunately have not finished everything of this lesson, but we'll add a quarter an hour for every lesson in the course, because I want to give you this entire course. Today I've already added, the time is 9 o'clock, but even next week it will be until 9 o'clock, because we really want to be able to touch everything, and we'll also touch other signs, which are important signs that I want you to take them, because we'll build things with them, because later on I want to send you to dream certain dreams and to see how to overcome what we can get from the dream. And in the meantime I'm asking at home to see how you can remember the dreams and write the dreams, and you'll have a small exercise in couples, but write small stories. Whoever has questions now, a few questions, can ask them. We'll answer the questions and finish. So, if, for example, an Arab will shoot מה יש להם ערבים אחים? די, הוא גומר אותי, אני לא יכול. מה יש להם ערבים? איזה גזען אחי. I'm saying it's not a question. The question is, how will he relate to what happened? And what he will do needs to be an implication of what he thinks. Wait, I want you to answer me first, and then I'm not going to answer on the action before I'm going to research with you together. What is that we need to think about that thing? Only when I know what to think about it, then I'll I think it's a bad thing. What's good in that we need to help him? How do I relate when a person did something bad to me? It's not the same thing. If a person did something bad to me, but if a person shot someone and killed him, what do I need to think about that? What do I need to produce from within myself? What kind of a mental place would you like to reach? Not kind of an action you would want to do outside. What is it you want to reach within your soul when such an event takes place? When you speak with me, what it is that you want to try to see, what it is that you want to reach inside, and then translate it to something external. Because when we only think what it is we want outside, we become external people and we chase external things, and we can wake after 7 years and see that we did not attain nothing of what we wanted. So what is it brought the... What do you want to attain within yourself? What brought him? No. No, what do you want? Not what it is that you want to understand. He asked, because there's no correct or incorrect answer here. There is his spiritual advancement, what he needs to do, what mental point he wants to develop according to what he saw. For example, a child pushed a table on you, it hit your forehead, and he injured your eye next to your eyebrow. I see that you have a plaster there. What do you want to attain within your soul? You want to attain peace or bravery or compassion or anger or revenge? Not what action you want to do. And you should know that this is the biggest mistake of a person, that he asks himself, what do I want to achieve outside, and he doesn't ask himself what it is that I want to attain inwards. And ask yourself what it is you want to attain inside, and then interpret that to an external action. We're done with these questions.
Rav,
for example, if I had a dream, and I remember this dream really good, and it's a dream from a long time ago, and I have perhaps some sort of a dream that this dream was distorted, and it's not exactly the dream I dreamt. Well, I'll send you to dream it again, and on the fourth lesson, remember how we're going to guide to dream the same dream or similar ones, so we'll be able to connect them. Please. Can you use the microphone, please? I dreamed a dream 2 weeks ago that I was in a neighborhood I used to live in about 8 years ago, and then I see my neighbor with his daughter and another neighbor, and he tells me, come here for a minute, see Eti's daughter. So I'm saying, but he already died, Moshe, what are you talking about? Why is he telling me to see Eti's daughter? Eti doesn't have a daughter, she only has sons. What is it? Okay, you'll solve it, it'll be very simple. Okay, please. If there are signs which are correct for all of us, so it's like the reality is correct for all of us. So the dream is also some sort of a reality. That's true. There are signs in the dream which are clear and signs which are not clear. We also gave you questions for review on the sheets, and next week we'll continue from the place where we stopped, and we'll add another quarter an hour. Thank you so much.